So this is a BMW X5 2009 3.0 gasoline motor. The major problem was the water pump, which started to be manufactured in 2006 to 2018 on the BMW X5s with the 3.0 liter motor, and the newer ones have the turbo in them. The things that are complicated with the water pump is that it's electric, which isn't the problem. The problem comes into play is when you're driving down the road and it says like overheating and it turns to an orange color on the dash, like on the screen here. So if it's yellow, that means its engine's still good. If it turns red, that means your engine may be destroyed from that. The problem is that the car will say, oh yeah, the car is yellow, let's pull over. And then what you need to do is you need to do a scan with your scanner to find out what's going on. Now, if you don't know much about what BMW does for their water pump issues, fan issues, anything that's connected to the cooling system on a BMW, it's going to put the vehicle into limp mode. Meaning when you get up to 3,000 RPMs on your dash, it will hardly accelerate or won't accelerate at all. It'll just sit at 3,000 RPMs and the car will not accelerate. So in order to find out what's going on, you need to go to the scanner and find out what's going on. Now, so what you do is you go through your prompts to find out what the check engine light codes are. Of course, the check engine light won't turn on because it's a BMW, because they don't want to bother you with that kind of information. So the only way you would know is that it would say water pump malfunction and there's a certain code. I don't know if I have that code currently, if I can find it, but it can be very, very annoying, especially if it doesn't tell you. So best thing to do is you could probably message, if you message on YouTube, I might be able to help out with the codes. But the best thing to do is to get your codes out of the car first, and then we can start walking towards what could be the problem with that. The water pumps generally, like the good water pumps, I actually got the small water pump by accident, not knowing that there's a difference between there's four different control modules for the cooling or heating system for HVAC for the BMW 2009s and all the way up to probably 2026. I don't know. There's the larger water pump, and then there's the smaller water pump. And the smaller water pump is for the X3s and not the X5s. Now, I did have a smaller water pump, and it ran decently, but came to find out that that wasn't the right water pump. So then I finally went to the larger water pump, and now it's running fine. The issue that could also cause a problem is the relay from the computer to the fan. So basically, the way the schematic goes, it goes from the computer to the relay and then to the fan. So if the fan is not working, then it'll throw the water pump into an emergency mode. and quite possibly the car into limp mode as well. If the water pump does go bad though, then you'll be looking at the fan will just go berserk. It'll just go in high super mode, like the car is going to take off. So that's another indication that the water pump is bad, by setting off the fan into high mode. And then also there's a way to check and put the car into a mode to see if the car recognizes the water pump being bad as well. You push down the accelerator for 12 seconds, make sure that the heat is on high and the car is turned off, and then it'll start squirting radiator fluid through the reservoir for the cooling system as well. So that's a good indication that it's the water pump for that. So these electric water pumps, there's, as far as I know, is they all run the same for that. So you just check that as well. Now the job is pretty extensive. It can take a couple hours to replace. And it doesn't probably really matter if it's all-wheel drive or if you have a just two-wheel drive vehicle for the X5s. And they do go out at about 60,000 miles to 100,000 miles. So you need to be aware of how to check that. There also is on the scan tool a way to do a bleed through. You can do a bleeding for the water pump for the cooling system as well. So maybe the best thing to do is, if there's any interest of a video on how to do these certain things, please make the comments below and I will make a video for that. So these water pumps have only ran for about 12 years with BMW, and then I think they decided that people just weren't happy with spending the $2,000 to replace the water pump, because first it's the price of the water pump, and then it's the labor, and you're running about $200 an hour-ish. Plus there's the diagnostic fee, and then the pump, and then the time, and you're running at about $2,000 for that. So if there's any questions on this, make comments below as well. And if you just explain yourself or make a video and then just tag the video on your YouTube account, then we can connect that way as well. It's always good to use the blue radiator fluid as well, because it'll keep the motor in better condition. And another friend today was all excited about distilled water, but I mean, if you want to get distilled water, I suppose you could. So it's basically replacing the water pump and the thermostat and then the fluid, and then knowing the characteristics of how this water pump reacts, and then also the temperature of the engine as well. Usually ranges between 180 if the car is working hard, or if it's on the freeway, you're at probably about 220 degrees for the coolant at the motor. And then the thermostat temp, or the outlet temp, or its inlet temp, is always probably going to be about 10 degrees difference. 10 to 15 degrees difference. But I just can't find anybody that can explain how this water pump works. And this is for the 4 temperature system in the car. And it's the two temperatures in the back, and then the 2 temperatures in the front. And I will show you that in 1 minute here. So you have your dash temperatures here, and this is at 60 degrees. So now if you turn your temperature up to 80, well, let's go to 75. Now the water pump will bounce up from the 53 to the 125. See how that line goes? Because what it's doing, it's running the fluid faster through, so you get more of that temperature behind the heater core, running off the heater core for that. Now if you accelerate fast, let's see if I can do that. It will bounce the temperature of, or it'll spin the water pump faster during this. If it's 75 degrees, it'll bounce it up to 250 RPMs. Now I'm just gonna go over here and park and then show you what happens when the temperature goes on the inside of the car up to 80. Let's go to 83. So now the water pump is going to bounce up to 179. Now it's like 60 degrees outside, so it's kind of interesting that it's not at the 212, which it normally runs at. Now I'm going to bounce it up to all the way open. So we're going to go 184 degrees. And now we're running at 212 degrees. Is what kind of basically it runs at. Now this maxes out at 250. So if you are accelerating a little bit, it could just run at 250 and then it'll drop back to the 212. It's just kind of it's a good idea through the system, but I think the problem is most people don't understand how this works and runs and get really confused and then kind of just give up on it. So now we're running at normal operating temperatures here. For the engine, we're at 212. For the coolant temperature engine, and then we're running the coolant temperature radiator outlet, which I think is where the thermostat is, which is your 10 to 15 degrees difference. And then your engine oil, with that. Now this does not have turbo, but the cars that do have turbo, you want to pay special attention to that temperature number, because that's when you want to start using your acceleration for the vehicle, for the X5s and for any vehicle. Especially with the turbos that are coming out now, you need to be way more concerned about that. So, and I think the fan on this vehicle does not kick in until probably about 230-ish. And even when you turn the air conditioning on, even when you turn the air conditioning on, it doesn't even kick in. So it's got some kind of super efficiency that's going on with it, which nobody will tell anybody about. Let's see here. 1 second. Okay. So yeah, so if you have a scanner, definitely check these temperatures out, and then this will tell you how efficient the car is running. So we will go from there, and I'll wait for your comments.